Hello. For this week, we're going to be focused on spine, leg, and foot controls. So now that we've completed the arm and fingers, we're going to move on to the spine, leg, and foot. And the spine is relatively simple. It's similar to the clavicle. So we want to have a curve grouped that's going to be driving the deformer joint, similar to the clavicle, where it's all FK. There's other more elaborate ways of doing the spine, using a spline IK and different other ways of doing that. But we're going to keep it simple with just using those same types of controllers that we used for the fingers and for the clavicle. So just directly, indirectly manipulating with a FK sort of controller curve. Okay, the leg is similar to the arm in that we're going to have an IK and FK switching between two joint chains. One is an FK and one is an IK. But the main difference is that since the feet are using the IK quite a bit because of the contact with the ground in a lot of animations, most animations, human, we're going to add some different features to the foot controller itself, and we're going to set up something called a reverse foot controller. So this is a pretty standard way of setting up a foot in rigging, where we'll have a curve that we can select that allows us to move the foot around with IK, but we'll also have some attributes that we can adjust to create different pivot points for the foot to rotate on the tip of the toe, rotate just from the ball of the foot, rotate just from the heel, rotate from the ankle, also bank left and right, and pivot from the ball of the foot, because those are all actions that we naturally do with our feet, different than the hand. And it also will require us to set up a few more IK. So when we get to the mirroring, we're going to have to do a little bit to make sure that the mirroring of the functionality when we recreate it is sort of separated between the FK curves can be mirrored the same way that the arms were, but the IK reverse foot setup needs to be mirrored a little differently just to maintain the IK relationships that we're going to have. The reverse foot is like, think of FK is forward, so that's the normal way that you would move a foot, by grabbing the ankle, and it would move, the toe would go along with it. With the reverse foot, we kind of build a structure out of groups that create different pivot points so that you can move the foot in these different ways from these different pivot points. Some people create them with actual skeleton, so with actual joints, they'll create a reverse joint setup going the opposite direction. But I think that using the group nodes, it's a little less cluttered. It's a little abstract, but when you get the hang of how it's working and where you're putting these center points, these pivot points for these different groups, you'll realize the power that you have over manipulating the foot using a hierarchy of groups that have different pivot points, and then which one is nested as a child under each. You can build pretty elaborate pivot points out of it. So that's going to be a big part of this week, is learning how to do that reverse foot. Okay, so other than that, I think we'll just take our time and be careful, make sure that we set it up correctly, and just follow along to the next video, and you'll see how we do it.